Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindard, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger's supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 5 of The World, which is the dry air and Rich no longer holding me snaps me out of wherever my mind went. I'm on the other side of court's outer southern gate. I walk through the walk through the town's a blur, with Rich's arm around my shoulder like I'm his arm around my shoulder. His spicy smell masking that of people and building and refuse. Base has a reprocessing center, but people have to bring their waste to him, and it's impressive how many of them would rather endure the smells than do the work. There There are plans for a sewer system, but since Base can't change things outside his walls, getting people with the right abilities to make it happen without uprooting entire neighborhoods at a time is proving difficult. Every time the mayor's over to talk with Grandpa Lewis, the "how come it's not done yet" conversation happens. More than one of those took place at mine and Dad's place because the mayor doesn't bother scheduling appointments. Rich a few meters ahead, and I hurry to join him. "Welcome to the great outdoors," he says, arm wise, like he's offering me the world. "I've been outside the walls before," I reply curtly, to mask how the idea he can take me anywhere in it is making me feel. I mean, it's not like I know him. So why am I reacting that way to this hot guy looking at me like, okay, no one's ever looked at me like that. I think I get why the older girls have been gathering guys who look at them that way. It feels good. Really? He smirks. The way you were talking, I thought your old man never let you step outside of Base's wall, let alone the town. Of course he lets me out. I point to our left. Somewhere over there is Salmon River. Me and my friends go fishing there every so often. We take the east gate to get there, but from here I'm not sure where it is. Of course, where my dad when my dad finds out about this, he's going to ground me for the rest of my life. Who says anything about him finding out? Rich says, "I'll have you back before anyone notices you're gone. Don't worry about that." Base knows, and he knows better than to rat us out. He doesn't want you to get in trouble, right? I guess so. We walk in silence. We're the only ones on the packed dirt road. The south gate is only for the farmers with their fields on this side of the town. There are fields all around Court that grows more things than I can think of, as well as have animals. I don't think about the damage the Ramtham will have caused to those on the way in. They're one of the reasons there are so many fields. The other is that it just takes that many of them to ensure a town like Court can sustain itself. The West Road is the one that leads to something that isn't related to the town. Out west is where Toronto is. In the fall, the road we're on is filled with carts bringing in grain, fruit, and vegetables. But this is early summer. The only thing that would come from the farms is meat. The spring harvest is already done. In that way, the timing of the attack was good for us. The farmers can probably rehabilitate the land in time to grow something before the weather gets too cold. That's going to depend mainly on the farming skills and abilities of the workers. The closest farm is just over 2 kilometers away from town. Something about making sure there's room for the town to grow. Salmon River runs at the back of Mr. Rooster's field, and that's another 2.5 kilometers through the wheat or corn or barley. Those are his usual crops. On the other side of the river is the forest. On the other side of most of the farms is the forest. If you include the farms into what's considered the town of Court, which most of us do, Court is this glade inside a giant forest that covers the south of Ontario. It's what this part of used to be it's what this part used to be called before the system. The older folks still refer to it like that. According to them, we live in Court, which is in the province of Ontario in the country of Canada. System doesn't recognize any of that, except for Court, because base is our settlement node. And through him, the town is identified as Court within the system. Something about it being the name of the city that used to be here before the system. The older folks are kind of obsessed with stuff that was before the system. On the left is a focused. I need to change that. I need to change that. For Integer, I focus on the stock. I thought I had changed it. Do I have a... Yes. No, actually, that's... Well... Crap. There we go. That's my default. Wheat, grain, ingredient. Wheat, grain, ingredient. Huh. I'm the one with the... Okay, that's interesting. I did not realize... Why are the other ones black instead of this gray? Huh. Well, anyway. Let's add... Knowing that, I'm not going to bother... I thought it was Ben's addition on the other one. Wheat, grain, ingredient. Agriculture check unsuccessful. So I can't tell how ripe it is. No surprise there. It goes to my chin. On the right, that field is corn. I don't have to ask the system. It's distinctive and already much taller than I am. I run my hand over the wheat as we walk. Further in the field is the observation tower that allows base to monitor the area. A bit like the town, it reduces the surrounding wilderness, which... Oh, wait a minute. Further in the field is the observation tower that allows base to monitor the area, a bit like the town. Okay, I know. Okay. Monitor the area like as if. As if it's part of the town. It also reduces the surrounding wilderness, which means the farmers don't need as high skills to get stuff to grow. Maybe I can convince my dad to let me be a farmer. They all have houses with the best durability, so I'll be safe in one when the system sends a monster wave against the town. If I could work outdoors, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. What do you want to do with your life? Rich asks. You're a mind reader? That's something I get with my class. And what's your class? So, what are you going to pick? Whatever my dad leaves me. After this, it'll probably force me to be a carpenter like him so he can keep me as his apprentice. If not for your old man, what would you pick? I don't know. A guard, probably. I want something that's going to help the town and to get patrols that takes them out. And they get patrols that takes them outside the walls. So I'll be able to see all this every so often. That's it. Not a fire-throwing sorcerer gallivanting around, burning down monsters, saving... He looked at me, his lip quirking. Someone in distress? Maybe some world-traveling adventurers leaving behind swooning women in every settlement he comes across, as well as some of his seed? I swallow at the image that brings up. I've had a few fantasies that sounded like that. Someone like me doesn't get to do stuff like that. He stops and grabs my arm. But what if you did? The look he gives me doesn't have any of the heat from earlier, but the memory makes me blush. What if you were someone like that? Would you prefer staying in this small town over traveling the world? The whole damn world? With you? I can't help wondering what that would be like. Well, yeah, I don't want to stay here, but I have responsibilities to my dad, the town, my friends. I pull my arm out of his hands. I'm not like you. I don't get to just go wherever I want and not care. I'm surprised at the lack of bitterness in my voice. Sure, I've dreamt of seeing what's down the road, Toronto, and whatever lies beyond that. But I'm just Dennis Carpenter. I live in court that isn't part of some old folks province or country, and I have to play my part to make sure my town survives the hardship the system throws at us. It's who I am, and I'm surprisingly okay with that. He doesn't say anything, and I'm surprised by that too. What I've heard about him and what I've experienced in the last few hours doesn't paint him as someone who has a high opinion of people who place responsibilities over what they want. I expected him to mock me. Instead, the look is serious. Then he's smiling and is walking again. Come on, I think you're due a treat before we go back. I want to ask what he means by that, because my imagination is all over the place with this. Instead, I catch up to him because if there's one thing everything I imagine has in common is that if it happens with Rich, it's going to be more fun than I've experienced before. This wasn't anything I imagined. The road ended a good 500 meters ago. I thought Rich wanted some place secluded for my treat, but this is... He steps out of the trees. What's the problem? That's the forest. I don't elaborate. What's the point? Everyone knows about the forest. And? Maybe except him? There are monsters in it. Everyone knows that. Is that what they tell you? It's what everyone knows. Where do you think the Ramthong come from? Or other monsters that attack the town? The Ramthong settlement is to the northwest, the Knolls to the east, and the Barbarian are more to the east from where we stand. This part's perfectly safe. He pauses and grins. Well, I'll make sure you're perfectly safe. I think we should go back. It's going to be noon in a couple of hours, and Dad's going to ask around, and he's going to understand that you don't want to be around him after what he pulled on you. His smile softens. Heat fills his eyes. Don't you want that treat I promised you? I swear it's going to be worth it. He backs within the trees, and he's quickly hidden from me. I am so going to regret this. I run after him, after he's made sure I'm going to enjoy it. He smiles at me with pride. The first thing that registers is the sound. There's a muffledness to it. I make a fist to knock on a trunk, but Rich stops me. You don't want to risk angering them. His voice is deeper somehow. How is tapping on a tree going to anger them? My voice sounds different. I realize there are other sounds. Birds. I look up. It probably won't, but there's no way to know. With trees, I'm not taking on a trent if I can avoid it. The foliage is much higher than I expected, and it sways and makes a rustling sound that's calming. Something moves in the high branches. I get little, only a rusty color that jumps from one to another. Not something you want to tangle with either, Rich says, but it's not going to bother you first. I thought you said there aren't any monsters around here. That's not a monster, that's an animal. They can be just as dangerous, but the difference between the two is that animals want nothing to do with you, while monsters want to do a lot of unpleasant things to you. He walks off and I follow him, looking around. In the distance, there's something four-legged, taller than a cow, with a coat that's a little more green than the trunks. It has horns on its head that gouges the closest tree. As it lowers its head to eat something on the ground. Something looks at me from the closest tree and I step back. It chitters, then scampers up the trunk. A few trees away, something larger peeks around a trunk. Large head, round ears on top. It opens its maws and teeth glimmer. So many teeth. One bite and half of me'll be gone. I turn and there's another one. No, a different one. The muzzle's narrower, the ears triangular. There's something about it that reminds me of the larger dogs in towns, but when it looks in my direction, there's nothing of their playfulness in that expression. It's more like it's evaluating me to see if I'm worth the trouble. I open my mouth, but swallow my call to Rich. For Rich, I don't want to draw any more attention to myself than I already am. Where is he? I look around. I don't see him. I don't see the way he came from. I swallow and look up. I can't see the sun through the leaves, not that it would help. I use streets and buildings to direct myself. My throat constricts as I try to work out how to get out of here. We're closer to the edge than anywhere else, so there should be more light, right? Only it's all the same dim lighting with the occasional beam of dusty light. It looks great, but does nothing to tell me where the exit is. I focus ahead of me. Maybe if I'm lucky, my perception skill will let me know how to get out. No window appears because that's not how perception works. I have to focus on something. I look at the ground around me, my tracks. If I can see that, I can. Perception check unsuccessful. I focus to the left. Come on, there has to be something. Perception checked unsuccessful. 15 isn't that low. Come on, system, give me something. Perception check unsuccessful. I am so far. Boo! I scream and jump from whatever that is and hit my shoulder on a tree. I'm backing from that in case it wakes up as Rich's laughter registers. He stands there laughing at me, at how scared I am, at how scared he made me. You son of a bitch! He catches my fist in his hand and holds it. Come on, lighten up. It was just a bit of fun. A bit of fun? I yell and pull. My fist doesn't move. Do you have any idea how scared I was? I don't know anything about this place. For all I knew, you'd left me here to die. I pull as hard as I can and end up on my ass as he lets go of my hand. I glare at him as he crouches way too close to me. Dennis, I'd never leave you here to die. You're way too cute. Nope, not falling for that this time. He runs a finger along my cheek. But if it makes you feel any better, if I did want you dead, I'd do it myself. It doesn't. I want nothing with what he's offering. He leans to my ear, and when he breathes, I shiver. Wouldn't that depend on how I make it happen? He whispers. Then he takes my earlobe in his mouth and sucks on it. I react. Holy, do I react. I go to grab him so I can, only he's not there anymore. Come on, he says, walking away. We're almost there. Here's good enough. I want to scream. I'm on my feet and run after him, but first I have to rearrange myself. What is so special about wherever he's taking me? Don't ruin the moment, he says as I open my mouth by asking question. I'm not the one who's ruined that moment by walking away. He stops and what's before us takes my breath away. We're at the edge of a large clearing. Metal sheets poke out of the ground in places, with vines attempting to smother them. Some are broken, leaving jagged edges and vines behind that give the impression they mounted an assault and tore it down. I look down, and the clearing's floor drops away before us. It's about 15 meters until the moss-covered bottom. The light shows a metal wall on one side with the moss half its height. In the shadows, on the other side, is that a cave? On the other side is that a cave? Extends, there are a hint of angles under the greenery. What is that? I feel the hand on my back, then I'm propelled over the edge and falling. This concludes Chapter 5 of The World Which Is. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, the chapters that are up, it is on Royal Road for free. If you want to read ahead of what is Royal Road, that is on my Patreon. Should be 5 or 6 chapters ahead. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.